Mattie Ross is the star of the award-winning film True Grit, made by the Coen brothers. This is a remake of the 1969 film starring John Wayne, which is in itself an adaptation of the 1968 Charles Portis novel. The 14-year-old lead character is played by Hailee Steinfeld, who, much to my surprise, was only 13 when filming the movie. This is a significant and welcome change from the original casting, where actor Kim Darby was 21 when playing Mattie Ross. It's always nice seeing young actors playing lead roles in serious films, especially young women, because they're offered so few of these. Without giving too much away, this is a classic Western narrative about the search for revenge, self-reliance, and independence in a harsh and unforgiving land. The movie follows Mattie on her quest for revenge against the man who killed her father. To help her in this venture, she hires notorious U.S. Marshal Rooster Cogburn, known for his ruthless grit. The Marshal initially dismisses and ridicules Mattie because of her age and gender. However, she convinces him of her competence, and they set out on the trail to find the killer. For those of you who haven't seen True Grit, there's going to be a few spoilers ahead. What's so captivating about Mattie's character is how witty and smart she is, and how daring, self-reliant, and independent she is. She's full of confidence in herself and her abilities in a hostile, male-dominated world. These are traits rarely ascribed to female characters, let alone teenage female characters. One of my favorite scenes comes early on when Mattie successfully negotiates with an unscrupulous horse trader.
And I want $300 for Papa's saddle horse that was stolen from your stable.
You have to take that up with the man who stole the horse.
Tom Chaney stole the horse while it was in your care. You are responsible.
Yeah, I admire your sand, but I believe you will find I'm not liable for such claims.
You were the custodian. If you were a bank ever robbed, you could not simply tell the depositors to go hang.
I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough. Secondly, your valuation of the horse is high by about $200. How old are you?
If anything, my price is low. Hi, Judy is a fine racing mare. I've seen her jump an 8-rail fence with the heavy rider. I'm 14.
Mattie really is a breath of fresh air, as Rebecca Keegan points out in her LA Times article. Given that female adolescents are frequently depicted on screen as vapid, angst-ridden, pregnant, or merely decorative, Mattie Ross is a remarkable role. She never shakes out her braids in a makeover montage, swoons over a cute stable boy, or frets about the daunting task at hand. I wholeheartedly agree. However, I've been a little dismayed by some mainstream media articles and some blog posts that are quick to label Mattie a feminist character. Personally, I think it's a bit of a leap. While it's certainly true that Mattie possesses a number of admirable traits rarely seen in female movie roles, I'm just not convinced that she's a feminist character. Here are the two main reasons why. All characters need a good story arc, where they're one way when the story starts, and they learn a lesson, or change, or grow, or regress, or something. The point is that the character has transformed from the place that they were at the beginning of the story to someplace different by the end. For all intents and purposes, Mattie's basically the same person from the first scene to the closing credits. From when she first steps off the train, she may be a little bit naive, but she's still fairly confident, self-assured, independent, and emotionally cold. During her experiences traveling with Rooster and LaBeef, she retains all of those traits and seems fairly unaffected by the danger, brutality, and death all around her. As an adult, she seems to have changed very little, if at all, and that leads directly into point number 2. At no point in the film do we see a real range of emotion, such as sorrow, despair, or grief for the loss of her father. Mattie's entire reason for being, as far as we're shown in the movie, is to seek the death of his murderer, an outlaw named Tom Chaney. She's unwavering in her conviction that justice can only come through the hanging of Tom Chaney in the town square. In fact, the whole film frames the murder of Tom Chaney as justice, whether he meets his end by the state, by the U.S. Marshals, or by Mattie herself. It's never questioned that maybe an eye for an eye is not such a good idea. We don't see Mattie questioning capital punishment, i.e. the death penalty, or really considering any other potential forms of justice. Even after she kills Chaney, she still shows no emotion. In fact, no one in the movie seems to be affected by brutality, death, or the suffering of others. As we know, all people, regardless of gender, are capable of the entire range of human behaviors. But since we live in a male-dominated, male-centered society, traits stereotypically identified as masculine are more valued, and consequently more celebrated by Hollywood, while traits stereotypically identified as feminine are undervalued and often denigrated. This may be one of the reasons why people are quick to adopt Mattie as a feminist character and other female pop culture characters who are considered strong and tough. The feminism I subscribe to and work for involves more than women and our fictional representations simply acting like men, or unquestioningly replicating archetypal male values such as being emotionally inexpressive, the need for domination and competition, and using violence as a form of conflict resolution. In my feminist vision, part of what makes a character feminist is watching her struggle with prioritizing values such as cooperation, empathy, compassion, and nonviolent conflict resolution in a world largely hostile to those values. I think feminist characters should, like feminists in real life, push beyond societal norms, challenge gender roles, and the institutions that actively work to maintain them. And let me be clear here. This is not to say that I don't want characters who are flawed, because I do. I want characters who are subtle, who make mistakes, and who don't always do everything right. But I want those characters to fit into overarching themes where they're not stuck in stereotypical roles such as the damsel in distress, the girlfriend, or the love interest. And on the other hand, I don't want them to just recast tough male roles for women to play, which we've been seeing a lot of lately. In True Grit, Mattie is certainly subverting expected gender roles by being witty and smart and competent and independent, yet she's not challenging the set of patriarchal, archetypal male values ever present in most mass media narratives. She's actually adopting them.